That probably won't go as far. Oh.
This is for you too.
Yeah.
Are we going forward?
Yeah. Doesn't mean you guys got to go either way. You know, you do what you want.
Got it.
All right.
This is the guy who looks.
For me?
Right.
I didn't even see it.
I use my.
Yep,
Yeah, I
is it
wasn't
out there?
even looking.
I can't see.
Some kind of.
All right, we good to go. Good job, Dan. Always takes a pull truck to fix situations.
Right.
This chambers here.
Yeah.
It always
It's only that easy in my life every day.
Is that behind?
Yeah. Sure, all I have to do is turn off this thing. There is, yeah.
Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with the Sunshine Law. Notice was published on November 22nd, 2017 in the New Jersey Star Ledger, the official newspaper of the Township of Springfield for the year 2017, and posted in the Annex Building on December 29th, 2017. Please rise for the pledge. Sam, can I get a roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Monaco, absent. Mr. Hochstein.
Here.
Mr. Schnurr, absent. Mr. Cunningham, absent. Mr. Poltrak.
Here?
Ms. Cohen.
Here.
Mr. Laufer.
Here.
Vice Chairman Roth.
Here.
Chairman Fonseca is absent, and Mr. Roth will be chairing tonight's meeting. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. First thing I'd like to do is get the approval of the minutes from December 2017. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Were you here?
No.
I'll-
I'll second.
Sam? Oh, it's, just a,
Mr. Poltrak.
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein.
Yes.
Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Roth.
yes, I think it's
Motion
just a show of
passes.
hands for the minutes.
Hmm?
It's just a show of hands for the minutes. I don't think you need a roll call for the
I,
minutes.
no,
And
okay.
that sure,
It's
it
all in-
doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Okay. I always thought a roll call was necessary.
Okay, so the second one is the minutes from January. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from January 2018?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so the next what we're gonna do is we're gonna approve, we have 3 resolutions to approve from December. The first one is application 2017-18. Ryan, you wanna pronounce that for me, Sam? Frundlich?
Dunlitch.
Frundlich, 987 Trinity Ridge Road, block 3305, lot 3. It was a front yard variance for expanding a front portico.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Hochstein.
Yes.
Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Poltrak.
Yes.
And Chairman Roth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so the next approval is application 2017-19, Matthew Kirschner, 266 Milltown Road, block 2001, lot 19. Was 2 side yard variances and a lot coverage variance for a second floor addition. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Poltrak.
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein.
Yes.
Ms. Cohen.
Yes.
Chairman Roth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, so the third application is application 2017-20, Lawrence Pacifico, 36 Marcy Avenue, Block 110, Lot 6. Rear and side yard variances, rebuild garage on existing foundation. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Who second? Mr. Hochstein?
Yes.
Mr. Poltrock?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Chairman Roth?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, so the first application we're going to hear tonight is application 2018-3, 49 Evergreen Avenue LLC, 49 Evergreen Avenue, Block 2001, Lot 40. They're in for a front and side yard variances for an addition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Clara Horelik, appearing on behalf of the applicant owner, which is 49 Evergreen Ave, LLC. And as you stated, it is for 49 Evergreen Avenue. As you also stated, Block 2001, Lot 40. This is an addition onto the property. There will be no demolition of the existing single-family residence. There are variances requested for this pursuant to Section 3514 of the Township of Springfield Land Use Ordinance, schedule of its zoning limitations. Let me tell you what those variances are, and then the engineer will come up and go into detail with respect to same. There is a front yard setback whereby the minimum requirement is 30%. The existing is 27.42%, which is existing non-conforming, and 27.41% is proposed. So we're actually going down slightly. The second is a left side yard setback, where the front of the residence, because the residence is not straight, there is a 10-foot minimum required. We have 8.26 feet existing non-conforming, and it is going to stay at 8.26 feet proposed. With regard to the rear of the residence, again, same 10-foot minimum required, of course. Right now it's at 7.02 feet, but there is not going to be any change made to the rear. And lastly, I would just point out to the board that the lot width is an existing non-conforming condition of 50 feet, where the minimum required is 75 feet, and there is no change that is proposed there, of course, as well. I'm going to have appearing and testifying tonight Mr. Michael Lanzafama of Casey & Keller, and he is a licensed professional, engineer, and licensed planner. Also present this evening is the principal of 49 Evergreen Avenue, if there are any questions. And at this point, I would like to, of course, bring up the engineer, and would you like me to qualify him, or did you want to?
I'll first swear him in, and then we'll
Yeah.
call him, okay? Good evening, Mr. Lanzafama. Please raise your right hand. You swear testimony you're about to give and any evidence you present to the board is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Can you please give your name and address for the record, your business address, spelling your last name?
Sir.
Thank you.
The name is Michael Lanzafama. That's Lanzafama. I'm a licensed professional engineer, land surveyor, and planner. I'm a principal with the firm of Casey & Keller Incorporated, 258 Main Street, Melbourne, New Jersey. I've testified before this board on numerous occasions in all three capacities and have been accepted as an expert throughout the state.
Is your license current in the state?
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll accept it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As Ms. Horelik pointed out, the property in question, 49 Evergreen Avenue, is Lot 40 in Block 2001. To my left, I have mounted on an easel the variance plan that our office prepared. This should be dated, the original date was January 19, 2018. We then had a subsequent revision where we clarified some information. So you should have one revision on your set of plans.
So should we make this A1, Sam?
It's part of the
No.
application.
No.
Not that it's been changed?
This is the same as.
This is the same?
Say
That's
you
what
should
was
have the same
submitted.
one. I
All
just
right.
want to confirm that you have a plan that
2019.
indicates revision number 1.
Yeah, the plan shows a revision date. It's the same plan.
Okay, very good. The property is located in the S75 zone, which zone permits single-family residential structures on 10,000 square foot lots. Those lots are typically, according to the ordinance, should typically be 75 feet width with 110-foot minimum depth. The property in question is only 50 feet in wide. It's very narrow but very deep. It's 250 feet deep, and it's 12,500 square feet inside. The property is located on the north side of Evergreen Avenue, approximately 212 feet west of Christie Lane. The existing house, as you can see on the drawing, is located close to Evergreen Avenue and is twisted on the property. If you look at the setbacks that are on the exhibit, and if you look in your zoning table, which is in the lower left-hand corner of the plot plan that we prepared, you can see that on the left side, the rear side yard setback is 7.02 feet, while the front setback is 8.26 feet, thereby twisting the house. On the right-hand side, the rear setback is 18.79 feet, and the front side setback is 17.71. So this unusual orientation of the house causes us to have certain practical difficulties in renovating and expanding on the house. The existing structure is about 715 square foot footprint. There's a 400 square foot garage towards the rear of the property, and the total impervious coverage that exists on the property is approximately 2,259 square feet. What we're proposing to do is expand the house towards the street. There's an existing front porch, and what I've done to help illustrate that is I've prepared some existing site photos, which you could mark as Exhibit A1, and I'll put the larger exhibit up on the easel for better viewing.
And then do you want that at A2?
This will be marked as A1.
Sure. Oh,
The pictures are being distributed.
pictures is, as A1, is that what you?
Yeah, and then do you want the board to be A2
If
or
he's gonna
A1?
be marking it, yeah,
Yeah,
let's mark the
let
board as
that be
A2. So pictures,
This is
A1,
That's A2.
Oh, the board is A2?
and board is A2.
Same.
No, but they're different.
Okay.
And could I ask you some questions when you're ready about those photos? Did you take these photos?
Our office did. My field crews did during the process of surveying the property.
Okay, and when were they taken?
They were taken, the date of the survey, sometime in January they were taken.
Okay, have they been altered in any way?
No, they have not.
And do they represent the current condition of the property?
They do.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll accept them as exhibits, and they are marked as A1
Okay.
collectively.
The purpose of preparing the exhibit is to point out where the addition is going to be placed. If you look at the exhibit, you can see the front porch. It's a covered porch. There are openings on three sides. The entrance walkway is up to the right side of the porch. The proposal is to basically demolish that porch and fill in that space with a two-story addition. What that allows us to do is expand the existing family room, dining room, and kitchen that are located on the first floor. On the second floor are existing 3 bedrooms. We're going to expand that out to 4 bedrooms. So that is the purpose of the expansion. What that does is as we move out and fill in that area, the existing front setback, which is at 27.42 feet, slightly reduces almost immeasurably to 27.41 feet. So we're looking for a setback variance of 2.49 feet from the required 30-foot setback for the S75 zone. As to the side yard variance, as you can see from the exhibit, the photo to the right, the area just to the left of the porch would be filled in with a 2-story element. That thereby results in the need for a variance for that side yard variance. The side yard exists as an existing non-conforming condition at 8.26 feet. However, at that point, it's a 1.5-story element. By expanding it, you then require the variance for the 8.26-foot side yard on the left side in the front portion. The back portion of the house is going to remain unchanged, so that is an existing non-conforming condition. So the variance that we're seeking for the side yard is 1.74 feet, is the extent of the variance we're seeking. In my opinion, these variances can be granted under the C1 criteria of the municipal land use law. We're dealing with a lot that has exceptional narrowness. It's only 50 feet wide, where the zoning that was developed for the properties is 75-foot width, and the location of the existing house that lawfully exists on the property at the time of this application. So the twisting of the house and the narrow nature of the house causes certain practical difficulties. In my opinion, you're not going to see any significant impact to the adjoining properties or the intent and purpose of your zone plan. The front setback change is literally immeasurable. You're talking about 1/8 of an inch is the difference in the front setback. As to the filling in of the side area, we're filling it in where the house twists away from the adjoining property. And you can see from the exhibit that the adjoining house to the left, there's an intervening driveway, so there's going to be adequate separation between the properties, so you don't see a significant impact to light, air, and open space, which is the purpose of side yard setbacks. So, as I said, in my opinion, I believe the variances could be granted without substantial detriment to the neighborhood or the intent and purpose of your zone plan. The positive criteria is obviously aesthetics. You're going to see a renovation to a house in a neighborhood that's seeing some transition. Recently, off of Bernadette Court, we did a 2-lot subdivision where you saw 2 new homes being developed. Here you have that an additional redevelopment along that Evergreen Avenue, which is always a positive for the neighborhood and the community. And that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So, Mr. Lanzafama, just to sum up your detailed testimony, this lot presents a hardship, correct?
Yes, it's exceptional narrowness.
And that's that hardship that justifies the variances requested, correct?
That is correct.
And as you stated, this does not in any way form a detriment with regard to zoning or zone planning or our master plan or anything along those lines.
That's correct.
And the character of the neighborhood would not be impacted in a negative way. In fact, it would be positive. Is that correct?
That's my opinion based upon the improved aesthetics of the home.
And of course, this remains, even with the improvement, this remains within the character of the neighborhood.
Yes, it would.
Based on what you're saying, then, I believe that Mr. Lanzafama has put forth the negative and positive criteria, the justifications for the variances, and of course, now it's board's court.
Anybody have any questions?
It looks like on the elevation that it's going to all new siding and trim and everything on the building, so.
That's my understanding.
It'll all be
yes.
matching with the old and the new?
Correct.
Okay.
Sam, you have any comments?
I don't have any issues engineering-wise. There's no impact engineering-wise.
There's no difference with the water runoff from the roof?
No, the impact is nil. However, are you planning to do anything with the garage as far as improving the garage?
As far as improvement.
That garage
Yes.
it needs some attention from the pictures. In fact, I took my own pictures before I got here, and they show a.
The garage will not be left in the condition it's in currently. It will.
So if we could put a condition in the resolution that the garage needs to be scraped down and painted, that would be great. There's a vehicle in the parking lot that's been sitting there for a while that's abandoned and not registered. Okay. Other than that, I have no issues.
So the garage will be match the house when the.
Well, it's going to be
project's
scraped and painted. What color they choose, I don't know yet.
The garage will be improved from the condition that it's now, and it will go along with the house.
Is there anybody from the public who needs to be heard on this? Any other questions from the board? Okay, so I'd like to
Thank you.
ask for an approval for application 2018-3, 49 Evergreen LLC for the front and side yard variances for the addition. Can I get an approval?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, Sam?
Sure. Mr. Poltrock,
Yes.
Mr. Laufer,
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein,
Yes.
Ms. Cowan,
Yes.
Chairman Roth.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Want to ask?
Do we would waive resolution
Right, but.
to
you
get
have-
started?
Correct, but just be aware that.
We have to
you're-
get all the permits?
You have to get all the
Oh, we know.
permits and work with engineering, and then also there was the one condition with regard to the garage.
Absolutely. We agree to that.
Okay.
Thank you again.
You're welcome, thank you. Good luck.
I'm not even looking over this.
Okay, so our next application is application 2018-1, Sani Realty LLC, 30 Route 22, Block 3104, Lot 1, preliminary and final site plan with bulk variances and use variances, Dunkin' Donuts with a drive-through.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Stephen Hale, the firm of Hale & Hale, representing Sony Realty. Pleasure to be here this evening, and we appreciate the board's time and attention tonight. This is an application, I'm sure everyone is well familiar with the site, the Checkers Restaurant site that has been vacant for a number of years. My client, who has operated the Dunkin' in the Center Island, in fact, operated the Dunkin' Springfield for 25 years, a resident of Springfield, and he was able to purchase the property where the Valvoline Quick Lube and Checkers was, and he's looking to relocate the Dunkin' Donuts facility from his present location, which he rents, to this new location. We've had an opportunity to review the comments from your board professionals, greatly appreciated. As usual, Springfield sends it to us in adequate time for us to review and comment on those. What is proposed here is a relocation, generally reutilizing the Checkers structure that's there, reconfiguring the drive-through. In fact, eliminating, right now it's at the Checkers, it was a double drive-through, or eliminating those. And I think you'll see from the plans in our presentation, this will be a very much improved site, good landscaping, nice facade on the building, and a great adaptive reuse of this property, and brings a very visible closed facility now to active, and again, active reuse. We're before this board because the previous Checkers did receive a variance, so we're seeking what's classified as a D2 variance, an expansion of the non-conforming use at that site. The Valvoline site is going to generally remain as it is, and they did function nicely before. We think with the reconfiguration of the site, not only will it be aesthetically much more pleasing, but it'll function much better also. So that's an overview of the application. We do have some variances, some signage variances, some that we're actually making smaller, but again, we feel that the signage is tastefully designed and necessary for a site that is in the Center Island that essentially has three frontages. It's got the U-turn, it's got eastbound and westbound. So that's an overview of the application, and what I'd like to do first is call upon Teal Jeffries, our site engineer, to explain existing conditions at the site and then what's proposed by way of improvements to the site.
Mr. Hill, before we swear him in, you and I had the discussion, because the applicant is seeking use variance, 5 affirmative votes are required. Right now, the board only has 5 members, so the applicant, it's my understanding, the applicant has agreed to proceed, recognizing that it needs 5 affirmative votes.
Correct. And certainly if there's issues that the board has raised or the board professionals, we feel that we would need to come back at a future date. We've just reserved the right to do that. But we are, again, we're very comfortable with the review letters that were issued by both your engineer and your planner to be able to address those.
Okay, that's acceptable.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
A lot.
And we'll swear in your first witness. Please raise your right hand. You swear the testimony you're about to give and any evidence you present to the board is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record, spelling your last name, and then give your business address.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Teal Jeffers, T-E-A-L, last name Jeffers, J-E-F-F-E-R-I-S. I am the principal of Jeffers Engineering Associates, 801 Orchard Avenue, Runnymede, New Jersey.
And Mr. Jeffers, if you could please give the board a little background of your work, educational experience, area of expertise,
Sure.
and whether you've been accepted as an expert.
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. I have been practicing land use in the state of New Jersey for about 24 years at this point. I am licensed in the state of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware as a professional engineer. My focus is land development, site design. I have testified in front of multiple boards throughout the state of New Jersey and have been considered an expert witness in front of those boards.
And is your license still current in New Jersey?
My license is still current, yes.
Thank you.
Acceptable, thank you.
Great, thank you
Thank you.
very much. All right, Mr. Jefferson, you've heard my opening statement. If you could take the board through existing conditions at the site and then what's proposed by way of improvements.
Sure. I'm going to refer to a rendered version of the site improvement plan that was submitted as part of the plan set. This is just a colored version to make it a little bit easier to see. The existing conditions at the site.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. Since it's a colored version, Mr. Loughlin, I assume we should probably mark
Yeah,
this.
let's
Yes.
mark that. We'll mark that as A1.
Please.
That's just a colored version of the site plan that's already in the packet.
That's correct.
Thank you.
As it's already been explained, the site is located in the center island of Route 22. And to orient the board with the plan, Route 22 westbound is located across the top of the sheet, which is also north.
Because we're recording this for the transcript, could you just hold the microphone if you don't mind?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Even though we can hear you, it's just for the record.
Okay, is that better?
Thank you.
Great. Route 22 westbound runs across the top of the plan, which is the north. Route 22 eastbound runs across the bottom of the plan, which is to the south. The U-turn that was referenced borders the western side of the property. And then to the eastern side of the property is the unimproved wooded area, part of the county park property, and the Rahway River. The site is currently improved with a former Checkers restaurant located in the southern portion of the site and a Valvoline oil change facility located in the northern and central portion of the site. Access to the site is currently provided through 4 driveways, 2 on Route 22 westbound with an entrance drive in the northeastern corner and an exit drive in the northwestern corner, and from 22 eastbound with an entrance drive in the southwestern corner and an exit drive at the southeastern corner of the site. Within the interior of the site, the driveway and the parking areas are currently asphalt pavement. There are 2 trash enclosure areas servicing both the Valvoline and the former Checkers. And the former Checkers has 2 9-foot wide drive-through lanes, one on the northern side of the building, one on the southern side of the building currently. The site has some limited landscaping with a balance of the property being grass with some shade trees scattered around the site, and then the eastern boundary of the property being wooded along the river corridor. Under proposed conditions, the existing Checkers restaurant is proposed to be renovated into a Dunkin' Donuts. The drive lane, or the drive-through lane, on the south side of the existing building is proposed to be eliminated. So it would reduce 2 drive-through lanes down to 1. The 1 drive-through lane, the northern one, will be preserved and then widened to be 10-foot minimum as required by the ordinance. And a building addition is proposed to slightly expand the existing building. The existing Dunkin' Donuts building is about 962 square feet. An addition of about 438 square feet is proposed so that the overall building is 1,399 square feet. That addition is proposed on the southern side of the building here, simply because with the drive-through on the northern side, there's no space to physically expand the building without displacing the driveway and all the parking. So the logical location for that addition is on the south side. Now that addition creates a need for a front yard setback variance. The existing Checkers restaurant has a overhead canopy that has a setback of 23.78 feet. currently an existing non-conforming condition. We are decreasing that nonconformity by increasing that setback to 31.49, where a minimum setback of 35 feet is required. So we do need to seek a variance for a front yard setback for that small addition. Along the front of the store, there's a concrete pad patio to serve as the main entrance to the building, and then a patio area. In the back of the store, there is a service walkway as well as a walk-in cooler parallel or perpendicular to the drive-through lane here in the back. One thing I would like to talk about with that walk-in cooler is normally with a Dunkin' Donuts store, the coolers are attached to the building with new construction and new stores. In this particular case, we have a unique scenario. Due to some limitations associated with the highway access permit that was granted for the site, the DOT, and under those conditions, would not allow us to have that cooler attached to the building. So that cooler was separated from the building, set in the back along a service walk. To try to have that mimic or appear to be part of the building or an extension of the building, we were proposing a solid fence to enclose the service walk between the cooler and the building, the cooler to be painted, which the architect will talk about in a few minutes as part of her presentation, and then decoratively landscaped to help blend that in and make it look as part of the overall structure. According to the professionals' reviews, that walk-in cooler is considered an accessory structure, which is not permitted in the commercial zone, so we wouldn't need to seek a variance for that cooler this evening as an accessory structure. If we were able to attach that to the building, we would. Unfortunately, with the DOT limitations, we're unable to. With regard to other site improvements, we talked a moment ago about the drive-through lane, which is located here along the northern side of the building. Entrance to the drive-through would occur within the interior of the site in the central eastern portion of the site, with cars exiting the drive in the western side of the site and then exiting back into the center portion to either exit onto Route 22 westbound in the northwestern corner, or circle back and exit onto Route 22 eastbound in the southeastern corner of the property. The existing trash enclosure that is located behind the building now is proposed to be relocated to the eastern side of the parking lot, with grass and landscaping proposed to take up the place of the former trash enclosure, as well as a menu board, ordering canopy, speaker, and so forth that are common and typical with the Dunkin' Donut drive-thrus. The yellow that you see on this plan represents new concrete, where we have concrete in the front, entrance and patio, at the pickup window, at the ordering station, and some new walkways to provide handicap accessibility from a handicap stall to the front of the store. With respect to drainage conditions, the proposed conditions will slightly decrease the amount of impervious coverage on the property and slightly reduce the overall stormwater runoff from the property. The existing drainage system that is there will remain. There is proposed to have some modification to an existing inlet located on the drive-through lane to be eliminated. The board engineer had recommended that we eliminate a riprap swale that we proposed and a curb cut, and instead to install an inlet structure there on the proposed drive-through lane, and that's something we will comply with and provide. With regard to landscaping, there's a significant amount of landscaping that's proposed around the site, and for that, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to refer to a rendered version of the landscape plan, which we can mark as Exhibit A2.
Oh, we're at A3.
A3?
Wait, aren't we? Don't we have photos too?
No, that was
Oh, that was the last one? My bad. A2. Just keeping you on your toes, Counselor.
A2 is, again, just a rendered version of the landscape plan. This plan is a color depiction of the proposed landscaping. As you can see on here, there's a significant amount of shrubbery and plants around the patio, around the foundation in front of the building, along the walk-in cooler, and the service walk in the back, in between the building and the drive-through lane, in the parking lot islands, and along the drive-through lane itself, around the trash enclosure, as well as the inclusion of some shade trees and some plantings along the U-turn. The landscape plan complies with the requirements of the ordinance with regard to landscape area within the interior of the parking lot, as well as shade trees. But as you can see, there is a significant amount of new landscaping proposed as part of this application. With respect to lighting, the existing lights at the facility are proposed to be removed and replaced with new LED, energy-efficient lights to provide uniform lighting across the site, not only just for the Dunkin' Donuts, but also for the area occupied by the Valvoline. And then lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about signage. And for that, I'd like to refer to, this is just a black and white copy of the signage plan and details that was submitted as part of the plan set. There are two pylon signs that exist at the property. One pylon sign is located here on the southwestern corner of the site in front of the Checkers. The other is located in the northeastern portion of the site near the entrance drive from Route 22 westbound. These existing pylon signs are non-conforming in a few different aspects. So let's talk about what's proposed with the signs first. First, this sign in front of the Checkers is proposed to have the checker sign replaced. This elevation here represents what that sign looks like currently. There is a former checker sign and a Valvoline instant oil change sign on that pylon. The former checker sign is approximately 32 square feet in size. That's proposed to be removed and replaced with a Dunkin' Donuts sign. The Dunkin' Donuts signs come in standard sizes. The sign that is closest to the existing checker sign is a 4x9 sign that is total of 40 square feet in size. As a result of the replacement of that, the total size of that sign will increase by 8 square feet. So that currently, this pylon sign has a total area of 72 square feet, whereas 75 square feet is permitted. With the replacement of the Checkers with a new Dunkin' Donuts sign, that total area goes up to 80 square feet. So we are here tonight to ask for a variance to allow us to replace that checker sign with a Dunkin' Donuts sign. On the northern pylon sign located by the entrance from Route 22 westbound, this illustration represents what is on that sign currently. There's a Valvoline instant oil change sign and 2 checker signs. Both of the checker signs combined equal about 77 square feet in size. Both of these are proposed to be removed, replaced with the Dunkin' Donuts sign, same sign that we have proposed for the pylon sign on the south, as well as a sign that just says drive-through. This detail in the upper corner of the plan shows what that sign will look like. The total square footage of the new Dunkin' Donuts signs there will be 49.2 square feet. So we're taking away 77 square feet of checker signs, adding 49.2 square feet of Dunkin' Donuts signs. Now, the overall size of this sign, that pylon sign, is an existing non-conforming condition. It's 117 square feet. With the proposed conditions, we're lowering that to about 89.2. 75 square feet is is required. We do need a variance for that, but we are lessening that existing non-conforming condition. There are, I mentioned a moment ago, the non-conforming conditions associated with the signs also include principal building setback, where 50 feet is required, and the Valvoline and the Dunkin' Donuts stores are not set at that 50-foot setback requirement. There is a sign height situation where the 22-foot max is permitted, where the northern pylon sign is currently 26.5 feet. Again, that's an existing non-conforming condition that will remain. The setback of the signs, there's a requirement of 10 foot from a front property line and 15 foot from an edge of a pavement. The northern pylon sign here is currently non-compliant with 3.6 feet setback from the property line and a 14.1 setback from the edge of pavement. Again, there are existing non-conforming conditions that will remain. Through the site, there are directional signs that are proposed to identify the entrance to the facility, direct patrons to the drive-through lane, indicate do not enter into the front of the drive-through lane. These signs are the Dunkin' Donuts standard signs that aid vehicles to circulate the site, and they have a Dunkin' Donuts cup logo on them along with the text. Detail number 2 represents what those directional signs would look like. Because of the Dunkin' Donuts coffee logo being considered an advertisement, there is a variance required on these directional signs to allow that logo to be placed as part of that sign. Now, in situations where you have a single use on a property, whereas a Dunkin' Donuts occupies its own property, the logo is not as critical, but in cases where such as this, where we have multiple tenants on a property, the logo helps identify that these signs are associated with the particular Dunkin' Donuts versus the other tenant. There are some wall sign variances that will be required, consisting of quantity, size, and height of the sign. The architect will talk about that in a moment as part of her testimony and discussion on the architecturals. That concludes the discussion with regard to the site conditions.
And did you want to touch on the review letters then?
Absolutely.
And there are 2 letters. First is from the code for practice firm engineers to the board. And I know in our discussions you indicated you already at least briefly testified as to the drainage. From a general engineering standpoint, any problem complying with any of the terms and conditions?
No, we'll make the modifications and comply with the conditions in the review letter.
And certainly, if there's any particular items that you want to address, but that we have no problems complying with any of those conditions. And I assume more particularly that would be the details in the site plan review section B on page 3.
Yes, we'll make those modifications.
Stormwater and C, I think that's just more comments. That and the landscape plan.
Right, they appear to be comments versus, or statements versus comments. Let me say it that way.
Okay, and then with respect to the review letter from Mr. Michaels, again, I think it's just generally more in comments that you touched on some of the variances, obviously, what happened. Mr. Steiger spoke in more detail.
Yes.
And any problem complying with any of the terms and conditions?
No.
I have no further questions at this time.
Does the board have any questions for this witness?
Yeah. So, I think the exit on the westbound side, you're gonna have cars, I'm going by your picture, I'm sorry. You're gonna have cars coming out right here. Yes?
Eastbound.
Sorry, that's the eastbound side.
Eastbound side.
I always get getting confused unless I'm driving on Route 22, I'm
Are
sorry.
I believe you're referring to this driveway here?
I think so. It's the far one in this picture, in the photo. I can bring it closer if you need help.
Is that the Checkers store in the center?
That would have been on the, yeah. from the checkers. It's like behind it, sort of.
Yep. That would be the exit drive, it appears, out of the
Right where those
22
cars, I'm sorry, right where those cars are coming out, or proposed to be coming out. Across the highway from there, especially on a Saturday afternoon, there's probably going to be an influx of traffic coming from the other side of the highway, because there's a sky zone going up back there. I'm just curious as to whether or not that's of any concern to you, regardless of whatever this letter says.
With respect to the driveway, the driveway itself is in its current location. There are no proposed modifications or changes to that driveway. The aspect of the driveway across the street and its location and traffic would have been taken into consideration by the DOT as part of their review of that application, as well as a review of this application. Given the fact that you have multiple lanes in the eastbound direction, the traffic exiting our site would generally be held from a very practical perspective. And I say practical because you can't control.
Still New Jersey.
Still, yeah. You can't control every driver. But from a practical point of view, they would enter and come into the left lane where somebody on the opposite side of the road would stay to the right lane generally. So from that perspective, we would anticipate that that type of pattern would continue. And that doesn't necessarily raise much concern in my mind from a basic engineering perspective.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. I don't know if this is for the architect or you. Can you explain why you can't attach the cooler to the building?
In 3 letters to the public by professionals, and maybe it would be better if Mr. Steiger, who's our professional planner and our traffic engineer, but yeah, I could just summarize. It's the DOT, if their site access has a certain size buildings that they will permit under the access code, and if the freezer box are able to walk from the store into that box, it's considered one DOT permitted.
Okay.
Joe will explain it better. From a logical standpoint, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's why we took the steps to significantly, and you'll see from the rendering, make it the same color as the main building, put a fence, put significant.
So it's a workaround on the regulations, basically, of the size of the building.
To me, it still doesn't make any sense because it's the same size structure, it's just not joined together. But I'll certainly let Mr. Steiger discuss that.
You're gonna have somebody talk about the traffic and the pedestrians
Yes,
and stuff? Okay.
Mr. Steiger is both our professional planner and our traffic engineer.
And then my last question is, how are the signs going to be lit? Are they internally lit? Are they spotlights?
The pylon signs are internally lit, yes. They're internally lit.
And the other signs are? The building signs are also. They're internally lit.
You can't talk yet.
And the drive-through signs, are they internally lit in some way as well? Or you don't know? Or I can ask the architect.
The drive-through lanes, I believe, are also internally lit.
Okay. That's my only question.
Yeah, I have a question, perhaps, I think it's for the engineer. I noted in my comment letter, there are 3 parallel parking spaces on the western driveway.
I'm sorry, Miss,
Yeah, and I just want to know if you can address that. I'm concerned that there may be some conflicts with vehicles entering and exiting those spaces and coming out of the drive-through. That's correct. Those are the 3 spaces.
These 3 spaces are currently existing spaces that we proposed some modifications to the end to provide the required minimum length for those stalls. When we evaluated the turning movement for cars exiting the drive lane, there's no conflict with a parked vehicle. Now, with respect to a vehicle maybe coming in and out of those stalls, there might be a temporary condition where there's somebody coming out of the drive-through would have to wait for this person to exit that parallel parking stall or enter that parallel parking stall. One of the points that we looked at is if that is a concern, one of the things we could do is designate those 3 parking spaces as employee parking to minimize the maneuvering coming in and out of those stalls.
That would be my recommendation. That's what I was thinking. It'd probably be best to designate those for employees so that minimize the movements.
Sure.
Yeah, no problem with that. And we discussed those letters, that's ideal. Sorry, we missed that in our direction.
Okay. The other question I had, also for my letter, was about deliveries. I don't know if this witness can answer that, or Mr. Steiger.
Actually, our client will discuss that, but we
Okay.
did prepare for this, so if Mr. Jeffries can give an overview of what is going to be the operational testimony.
Okay.
Very, very briefly, the deliveries for donuts and food products are made each morning by a panel van that will come into the site. Typically, they occur very early hours, off-peak hours of the facility. And then there is one delivery a week by truck for paper goods and other products for the store. Those deliveries would come in. There is given this type of site, there's an existing area and a proposed area for staging of any loading vehicles here in the center drive aisle, where the people could then unload and come into the back service area through a striped area, across a crosswalk, into the back part of the building. Those deliveries occur one time a week.
And what size trucks for that delivery?
Those trucks, as I understand, are normally straight body trucks or the very short tractor trailers, which are used for the local deliveries.
And those are also off-peak, those weekly deliveries?
Yeah, they are typically scheduled as off-peak hours because none of the store owners want that conflict with patrons and so forth.
Okay. That's all that I had for this witness.
Is there anybody here from the public who would like to ask questions of this witness?
Great. I'd now like to call upon, thanks, Teal. Our architect, Tracy Craig Stacy. Tracy, there you are. Do you want me to take this?
And I'll swear you in. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give and any evidence you present to the board is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record, spelling your last name, business address.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's Tracy, Tracy, and the last name is Craig, Craig-Paci.
And if you could, for the benefit of your work, educational experience and license, tell everything.
Okay, sure. I'm a registered architect in the state of Maryland. Honestly, I'm not registered in New Jersey, but my firm is, and my business partner is. So our firm has all the credentials for the state, and as an architectural firm.
And you've been
I've
testified before boards.
numerous. Yeah.
Architecture. I see you've done quite a few Dunkin' Donuts projects.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's good spots here. All right, you've obviously heard my opening statement, well familiar with the site, heard your testimony, Mr. Chairman. You can take us through now the architectural aspect of the proposed building, both by way of elevations and then floor plans, and the transformation of the character to a Dunkin' Donuts facility. We can also then touch on how you're looking to blend in the cooler.
Oh, sure. Okay. This we call this.
Yeah.
A3.
All right, now we're A3. Yep, officially. So A3, could you just describe what is up there?
It's a rendered 2D elevation of all 4 elevations of the building.
Can you give the date of?
January 16th, 2008.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The front elevation, which is the one that would face the eastbound 22. Right now, it looks like a drive-through when you're coming east on that side of the road because the Checkers has the two-sided drive-through. So I think it's a really nice update to the highway side because it's going to look like a front facade with a lot of glass, a monolith with the Dunkin' Donuts signage, and then just a nice orange band for the color, and the whole facade, except for the orange band, is hardy plank, which is a really nice material. It looks like siding as opposed to the typical ephes that a lot of fast food restaurants use. So that'll be a nice, addition, I think, to that facade. And then the entrance would be this one here, which is how you'd get into the building, and that's on the side of the building. And that just also has a monolith, mainly to just help patrons know where the entrance is as they park, so that it's much easier to understand that's the door that you go in. And then the drive-through elevation is on the back of the building, and we reused the existing drive-through location, added a monolith, and then a little mural on the side that is not internally lit. It just has some goosenecks, and that's just to kind of break up the big long blank elevation while you're waiting in line. And then this is the back where you see the cooler, and that's the cooler, and that's about how far it sits away from the building. It will all be painted in all the same colors. So it will hopefully, actually I don't even know that you're gonna see much of it from the road, but if you do catch any of it, it'll look like part of the building.
And obviously, the A3 does not have the landscaping in it. Perhaps you
Correct.
just tie in what Mr. Jeffers testified to, and where that landscaping would, and the fence would line up with the
Fence,
different improvements.
exactly. The front fence would connect in here, and then the whole, basically this whole front ends up landscaped.
And if you could then also describe the signage and confirm the lighting for the sign?
Yes, the signage is internally lit. It is not a big box sign, as you can see. It's what we call a cloud sign. So it's small, like the Dunkin' itself is just outlined, so it's not the typical square box that's the whole thing's lit. It's just the letters will be lit, and then the cup itself will be lit. And then you'll see the building behind it. This is what
And as you've indicated, as compared to from an architectural standpoint, the aesthetics of the existing building versus what's proposed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge improvement.
And if we could move on to the floor plans then.
Can we ask a couple questions?
Yeah, please.
What is it's real small. What is the reasoning for the drive-through sign in the upper right corner?
Just so people know that there's a drive-through?
Well, you're gonna have it on your pylon signs.
It's a corporate, likes us to put that on there, honestly.
Okay, we'll come back to that. You wanna ask? Okay, all right.
And just to clarify, Mr. Chairman, that's the sign you're.
No, I think it's this.
No, I was looking at that
Oh,
sign.
that one up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because you can't,
I understand.
we'll talk about that later, okay? That's all I have for now.
That's it?
And floor plans then. And I believe that's merely a mounted version of the plans.
Yeah, 14.
All right, so we won't need to mark it unless you start
Yeah.
drawing on it.
No, and it's really a pretty simple plan. This was the, what we call the front entrance. Parking and the patio are in this direction. There's just a front entrance here with some seating and the front line. You'd come in, get your coffee, and the back line in the kitchen area. There's an inside bathroom. Checkers, of course, had the outside access bathroom. And all the seating, which is great, was going to be along the windows, so it'll have a nice presence from the road. See people.
And I think there's very limited amount of seating in this layout.
Mm-hmm.
How many
10.
seats?
10.
10 seats.
Interior and then some patio.
And then that cooler that we referred to is access to go out the building and then into the cooler area. And that, you know, is shielded by a fence and landscaping.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Anybody from the board have any questions for the architect?
I have a couple of questions. Is that a corporate standard aesthetic on that building, or is it, are unique to that?
It is. They give you some options. You are allowed to do it the whole exterior ephes, which is the stucco look, or you can upgrade to the hardy plank.
Let's see if I have any other questions. Back.
Okay.
Yeah, I may have missed this, but or is there a sign then that extends perpendicular to the wall? I think it's on your elevation. Yeah. I guess it shows on both the two right elevations there, the one on the bottom and the one on the top on the right-hand side. That's the same sign we're seeing in both of those?
Correct. It's a blade sign that's above the drive-through window.
Yeah, the ordinance, and I think I may have missed this in my review letter, but the ordinance only allows wall-mounted signs to project no more than 15 inches from the wall. Is that more than 15 inches, or are they?
I believe it is.
Then that may,
It's over 2 feet.
yeah, then that may be another, it's another variance.
Another variance they need?
Because that extends more than 15 inches from the face of the building.
So it's 2 feet?
2'5".
And what is our ordinance on the amount of signs?
It's one per road frontage. Now, they're correct, this property has 3 road frontages, so you could have 3 wall-mounted signs. So you have, and how many wall-mounted signs are you proposing?
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, and what are the ones on are those signs?
This-
Those, yeah.
We call this a mural. I mean, we could put a mural there that doesn't have any DD on it if that's a problem, but it's really just 3 panels. They're just like metal panels, and then they have gooseneck lights on them. And again, it's just to break up this long section of building while you're in line.
So it's not a menu or anything like that?
No, that's
Or
separate.
it's not like, you know, Dunkin' Donuts special, like a big
No,
mural?
it always
that-
looks the same. It's
not
like
gonna
a
be
nice,
changed, like,
no, it's not, there's not gonna be
So it's
specials
it's more like a
changed.
picture on the side?
It is,
Okay.
it is. Yeah, it's similar to the ones they're now putting inside.
But you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signs, okay.
Can you show us on the plan where the old building ends and the new starts?
You know what?
Is it gonna be knocked down? Is it?
No.
is-
Well, sort of, yeah, it
Well, you
is.
could
But
if you want.
we're using the same footings and
Why don't we bring up
foundation.
the
'Cause
plan,
it-
perhaps?
Oh, this,
I'm trying to figure out what's old and what's new based on your,
okay.
This is gonna
Plan.
be new, this part, from here this way. See, they're coming
This
on
part
this.
is the existing checkers, and
So
they're coming
here
this
back
way
is all,
toward.
this whole seating area is the new part.
it's the seating areas, what's the?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
That I
Yep.
got.
That's a good answer. It starts about this.
Maybe on the floor plan, if we flip to the floor plan, you could show, Mr.
Yeah, that's-
Hodgson the board.
What is the width
It's
of the
about
existing
here. It's about
Checkers
right
building?
here.
Do we know?
This is the new part.
So it's like another third deep?
Yeah.
And I don't know if the traffic engineer or you're the person to ask about this, but why did you put the drive-through between where people park and where the building is, as opposed to have people park next to the building and have the drive-through go where there's not pedestrians? Was there a particular reason for that? Is that a design decision? Is it safety? What was the reason for that?
I think because it was existing.
Well, now,
Yeah.
maybe we could recall, if there's.
Yeah, please.
If I may,
Put up the site plan.
the existing Checkers had 2 drive-throughs, one on the south side, one on the north side. The one on the north side allowed the driver of the vehicle to be adjacent to the service window. The drive-through on the south side would require the service window to be at the passenger window of the car. Really becomes an inefficient process for a drive-through. This is all existing conditions. We are keeping that scenario. In order to move this drive-through from this side of the building, the parking would essentially have to be pushed. I'm sorry, to eliminate the condition that you're asking about, this parking would have to be flipped to the south side of the building. We just literally don't have the space to do that. In order, otherwise, to move the drive-through here onto the south side, now you have that drive-through window again coming up to the passenger window versus the driver window.
So you're going to have signage and a walkway coming from in the upper left corner so that people from the parking lot can cross safely to the...
That's correct. This is a handicap accessible walkway. There'll be pedestrian crossing signs here for those patrons to walk across to the main entrance here. This is the main entrance to the store up front. So anybody parking would come and walk up this way, the front.
Makes sense.
I mean, I understand how the
does that-
building works. I just didn't understand the, why you would not have people like parked separately from where the drive-through was.
In a perfect world where we're dealing with new construction, you're absolutely correct, and that would be the approach for the design. But in a case like this, where we're dealing with an existing site, we're somewhat limited in terms of what our options are because of existing site conditions.
Okay. And I guess that your traffic engineer will talk about the flow of the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Were there any other questions for Tracy?
Anybody else have questions for the architect? Any, okay. Sam? Nothing? Okay. No, we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. Is there anybody from the public here? Questions for the architect? No? Thanks.
All right, I'd like to now call upon, and I know he probably doesn't want to come testify, Salish Patel, Sal Patel. Yeah.
Good evening. I'm going to swear you in, sir. Please raise your right hand. You swear testimony you're about to give and any evidence you present to the board is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Please give your name, spelling your last name, and address for the record.
My name is Sailesh Patel, Sailesh Patel. I live 201 Hillside Avenue, Springfield, New Jersey.
And just tell, as I indicated in my opening, that you've operated the Dunkin' Donuts in Springfield for quite some time. A little background of where your previous locations are, and then we can move on to why you're looking to move to the new location.
I'm on Route 22 in Springfield. I have a Dunkin' Donut for 25 years. I've been a resident for 25 years. And I purchased the Checkers place, abandoned to put my new Dunkin' Donut.
And at the present time, your existing Dunkin' Donuts does not have a drive-through, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And this new location will give you the ability to now have a drive-through location?
yes,
We assume that then at the existing location, that's the facility that you rent, correct?
yes.
And you've now bought this.
I
new
bought
site.
this new site.
Great. Could you talk a little bit about generally the hours of operation? I assume it's
24 hours,
similar to what you have?
similar to what I have now.
Okay.
And we have 12 employees. They'll be changing, throughout the 24-hour shifts.
In different shifts? though,
Different
total.
shifts, yes.
And approximately how many employees are there at any one time?
5.
Okay. Now, there was a discussion before, I just wanted to confirm about the deliveries, the donuts.
We get delivery once a day for donuts, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we have one delivery once a week.
Okay, and the donut delivery comes in a smaller van, truck type?
Yes,
Okay.
So there's no actual baking on presence on the property?
we make muffins and bagels.
Do bake muffins on the
Yeah.
property? Okay.
Okay. And then you said that other delivery is made once a week with either a straight job or a smaller cracker?
Yes,
Okay. And that occurs, you indicated,
afternoon,
early afternoon?
Early
right now,
afternoon.
Wednesdays?
on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock,
Okay.
2 o'clock.
And is that what is consistent now?
Yes,
Okay. And I know that you had your professionals testify. Just want you to confirm that you reviewed the letters from Mr. Michaels and from Mr. Patrick. Do you have any problem complying with any of their terms and conditions?
no.
Okay. And just if you could give the board
Well, right now it's abandoned for 3 years. I purchased the property and make it, the landscaping and everything to the drawings.
And I know you upgraded to the hardy plank siding on the building,
Yes,
okay? And you also installed much more landscaping than what exists at this time.
yes,
Also to confirm, as Mr. Jefferson indicated, the lighting, you're gonna remove, even over in the balcony section, all of the light fixtures and replace them with high efficiency LED lights.
yes.
Great. And, if you confirm that the quick food facility will remain as it's done?
Yes,
Okay. And you work hard with your design crew, to deal with a multi-use site and, with what you believe is the best, most efficient plan?
and yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions of Mr. Patel at this time.
Anybody on the board have any questions?
No,
Sam, anything? Thank you.
You did good, sir.
Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Anybody from the public have any questions for Mr. Patel? Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to call upon Mr. Joseph Steiger.
Please raise your right hand. You swear testimony you're about to give and any evidence you present to the board is the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Can you please give your name and address for the record, spelling your last name and business address?
Yes, my name is Joseph Steiger, S-T-A-I-G-A-R. Business address is 4245 Main Street, Chester, New Jersey.
Mr. Steiger, I believe that you testified before this board and planning board in Springfield on many occasions, but if you could give the board the benefit of your work, educational experience, area of expertise, licenses, you have.
Yes, I have a Bachelor of Science and Master of Science degree in Civil Engineering from New Jersey Institute of Technology. Also been an adjunct professor in the Department of Civil Engineering at NJIT. I have a professional engineer's license in the state of New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, professional planner's license here in the state of New Jersey. I was before the planning board probably a little over a month ago for the Wawa application, but I've appeared before this board on numerous occasions, as well as the Board of Adjustment, Planning Board, and throughout the state of New Jersey, I have to say, well over 1,000 occasions.
Are all your licenses current?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's great, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Steiger, obviously, again, you're well familiar with the site. If you could take us through flow, parking, traffic, and then the plan. Maybe first you could touch on, because Mr. Hoxton, can you address this issue of the cooler and
Yeah.
our friends at the DOT?
And it's all related to the DOT. The DOT, we went through a very detailed review with DOT. This is what's called a DOT non-conforming lot. When you're non-conforming, and it's based on the size of the lot and the frontages, and you're kind of a little bit at a disadvantage because we're on in the median on a state highway as well. There's a calculation that the DOT has determining whether you're conforming and non-conforming based on that size. We are non-conforming, and therefore it has a trip threshold. Based on DOT trip rates, we're not allowed to generate more than X number of trips per hour. I think the number was in the order of about 143 trips per hour during any peak hour of the week. When we do the conversion, well, the Valvoline two-bay lube facility stays the same, so that doesn't increase. But when we do the conversion of the type of land use, Checkers was a fast food restaurant with a drive-through. What we're proposing is what's called a coffee/donut shop with drive-through. When you change from one to the other, the trip rates do go up. And as you know, the building is getting a little bit bigger. We're going from a little less than 1,000 square feet to a little less than 1,400 square feet in area. That meets, when using the DOT trip rates, that meets the trip threshold. We're allowed 143, the Valvoline and the Dunkin' Donuts generate about 142. So we're right at that threshold. The DOT does not include the cooler, the storage area, if it's not connected to the building and it has a head clearance of 6.5 feet or less. And the reason being, they don't want it habitable. A lot of times, middle of the night, some people knock down walls and put in doors, and all of a sudden the storage area turns into part of the restaurant. This ensures DOT, if it's disconnected, if the ceiling height is that height, it ensures DOT that this is not going to expand to something other than a storage area. So they allow us to discount the cooler area in that calculation, essentially allowing it in addition to the 1,399 square feet. So the reason why it's designed the way it is just for that very reason, so that it doesn't, in the middle of the night or on a weekend, turn into part of the restaurant.
Thank you for addressing that first. If you could then move on to your traffic and parking analysis flow, answering further the questions Paul Cracker answered about pulling out into that lane in general site.
Yeah, I heard some of the questions that were coming out from the board itself. Some of the explanation on why it was designed, Mr. Jeffers had talked about it. The architect had talked about it, that the directional orientation of this drive-through is such that it's headed towards the kitchen area where the drive-through lane is. That's where the drive-through lane needs to be, because as the coffee is made and the bagels are buttered and donuts are put in a bag, they want the handoff to the drive-through right there, rather than run across the building itself and have the drive-through on that side, if we flip the drive-through lane. It also, providing it this way, it also provides the maximum number of vehicles stacked. One thing that we have to be cognizant of is having sufficient stacking at that drive-through so we don't have spillover, and particularly if that spillover was into the enter lane as opposed to an exit lane. We don't want any spillover of traffic flow from the stacking lane into our entrance lane, which may back out onto the highway, versus if it ever happened on the exit lane, it would just stack internally in the site, that 1 or 2 cars, if it ever stacked. So it's a safety enhancement in that aspect. And it's most efficient, as Mr. Jeffers had pointed out, that the drive-through is on the driver's side, because it's kind of tough leaning over the passenger side to get that cup of coffee. What the trip generation, what we're anticipating in the morning peak hour, it's going to peak. Morning peak hour, we're going to see about 70 trips per hour entering and exiting, 70 customers per hour, so it's a fairly heavy site. About 2/3, about 60% of that will be drive-through traffic, 1/3 being park and walk-in. So the majority of customers that will come to the site will be drive-through during the peak hours. Off-peak hours, when people have a little bit more time, they're leisurely, a lot of people gather sometimes, have little meetings or meet people at these facilities. You may see more people, or a higher percentage, park and walk in, but the volumes are very much lower during those off-peak hours. So it is the rush hour that we are coincident with in terms of the peak of the facility. Lunchtime is a relatively low volume, dinner time obviously is, and really it's really that morning peak hour, that kind of small window of where you have the maximum activity. Specifically, the site is designed and operated, I should say, so that the deliveries do not happen during that peak time period. The last thing that the operator wants is a truck on the site when it has its maximum number of customers. So all these were important aspects that we had taken a look at. I think also Mr. Jeffers explained how the exit lane to eastbound 22 would work versus the development across the street, trampoline park, that is under construction now. In the median, most people will, as they pull out, will stay in the into the lane. So in the most left lane, people would exit out to make that left-hand turn out of the proposed site, and then shift over to the middle lane or right lane if they happen to need to get over into those lanes. Opposite of the site, even though it's not located directly opposite, I think we're down a little bit further east, but nonetheless, those vehicles across the highway would get into the right lane and then more conveniently start to shift lanes if they need to get over to the left to the U-turn or wherever. So the conflict between what's coming out of the proposed Dunkin' Donuts / Valvoline site and the properties across the highway really don't come into conflict with one another at that location. And it'll be more downstream that you'll see the weaving that or merging that may happen, but again, away from the driveway location itself. DOT looked at the configuration of the driveways in concert with this application, determined that the level of trip generation and the operation of the driveways would not necessitate a new permit. They felt that this had did not have what's called a significant increase in traffic that would have an impact upon the state highway. Therefore, no new permit would be required. And we did receive a letter. I believe the board has a copy of that letter, letter of no interest. So that's the traffic aspects. 3 parking spaces, although we don't think it would be a conflict. You may have some hesitation at the drive-through, someone coming out with someone making a parallel maneuver, but as we pointed out, we'll gladly take a condition of approval that those be employee spaces or designated for employees. And they kind of make sense too of having those 3, they're sort of out of the way. The prime spaces are in front of the building. One other comment, and again, I think Mr. Jeffers had explained it, but we will have parked cars or customers from the parked cars walk through the drive-through lane. And although we try to design these facilities to not have that, I think the existing conditions of the site, its adaptive reuse, kind of leads us in that direction. But you'll see the same type of arrangement in many McDonald's where they have the circulation around the building into the drive-through, and then you have the parking around the perimeter. And the customers do walk through the drive-through lane. So it's not a unusual situation. We will have a crosswalk at that location. We'll have pedestrian crossing signs there as well. So it will be, and it's clear visibility at that location. It's not around a bend or a turn or a blind spot. So we'll have a nice clear visibility at that location. So I believe it'll operate safely and efficiently in those terms. I'll go into the planning testimony, but in the interim, I'll take questions on the traffic or layout, or
Can you just go through the mechanics of coming in off the eastbound lane and how you would go to the drive-through?
Yep, the easterly access is on the westerly side. Come into the site, go across the front of the building. There'll be signs locating the drive-through lane, and then the drive-through lane coming from along the easterly side of the building. And then exiting out, you want to continue eastbound, you'll go in that clockwise direction and out the exit on the easterly side of the building.
Do you see any hazards of coming out of the drive-through while people are coming in from eastbound off the highway?
No, we have a nice long throat of distance between the driveway and the drive-through lane. And let me give you that distance. It's about, I'm going to say about 80 feet. About 80 feet from the curb line of Route 22. That's 3.5, 4 car lengths. Stop sign, right turn only, so we're not crossing traffic as a left turn. So you move forward, you see anybody coming, you'll give that person the right of way. They'll have the stop sign, the stop bar, clear visibility down that driveway. If someone did pull out, cut somebody off, you have that relatively long distance that it's not going to back out onto the highway. So no, I think it's designed properly. And
is there a way when people are coming out of the drive-through to make the curb or something in such a way that they won't turn left and accidentally go on to
Yeah, and it'd be tough to fit, because of the width of the driveway itself, it would be tough to physically prohibit that. I think what you see here, you see the curb has a curve to it to enhance the right turn. On the left side, we have more of a 3-foot radius, a tight turn. So as you approach, you're going to see a sweeping curve on your right and a tight corner on your left that you're going to gravitate there. You'll see the right turn only sign. Yep, and he put it on there. We have a one-way sign opposite. So opposite the driveway as well, we'll have a one-way sign. So you have all of that signage there, and the feel is going to be, I need to go that way.
And so in your professional opinion, there's no real hazard with the people crossing the driveway and people maybe possibly turning into the eastbound? You think it's safe?
Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry.
I'm asking two questions, sorry.
Yeah, okay. I thought there was.
One is coming, because we talked about that earlier, one is coming out of the driveway and turning right so you don't go into oncoming traffic, and also that the people are parking there, that you feel both those conditions are safe for the site.
Okay, I think the first one is when we say driveway, you're talking about the drive-through lane?
Drive-through
right,
coming
yeah.
out, right.
I think there's enough signage there, and the geometry is going to certainly enhance that right turn only. So yeah, I don't believe it. One other aspect maybe we can put in there, Teal, is we'll put a pavement arrow just to the left of the main driveway coming in. We'll put an arrow in the pavement, stripe it. So now you got the signage, the arrow, 2 arrows now. We've got the right turn and an opposing movement arrow on a pavement. So I think it's all there. And your second question was?
Second question was about the pedestrians.
Crossing.
Do you feel that's safe?
Yes. And the only reason is, it's not unusual. We're going to have the proper signage. We don't have high speeds in here. Typically, we're going to have stacking. During peak times, we'll see it beyond that crossing. We've strategically located that crossing so it will be in between the third car and the fourth car, so that people can pass through. So, and there's no bypass lane, which is a variance actually, but you don't have a situation where I'm crossing, and even somebody may even say, okay, go ahead, and I'm crossing, and I'm blindsided by another lane of cars. So we only have that single lane, which I think enhances traffic safety as well.
Going? Is there an entrance in the back of
I believe the entrance is right here.
Is it on the other side?
I thought it's on the other side.
It's all the way on the westbound side of the building.
Oh. Yeah, maybe Teal can help me on that.
The entrance of the building is here at the...
I understand, so there's a crosswalk there, so what is the other crosswalk for?
This crosswalk is for deliveries coming into the back of the building. This is the cooler in the back of the building for the guys who
Because if somebody crosses, who's a pedestrian, crosses there, they're gonna go to nowhere.
And they may walk in the driveway.
They're gonna walk through the drive-through to get to the front of the
My mistake. I saw that crosswalk there. I thought that was where people were going. We're going to direct them to the front of the building, or westerly end of the building, and cross them where the...
So how are we gonna know, how are the people gonna know not to cross? Because there's not an entrance in the back. There's gotta be a way that they...
I think we're gonna have deliveries, deliveries only, crosswalk,
There's gotta be something to not direct the public to cross in that crosswalk.
Yep.
What we can do if the board is agreeable to that is at the service entrance here, we can look to put a gate so it doesn't, so there would be no physical access seen to the back part of the building.
I think that's a good idea.
That's true, but sometimes people are not smart and would cross because they're gonna have no place to go if they cross there. I mean, there should be some kind of signage or something so they don't know not to cross.
We can absolutely look at a sign either here in the island or in the island between the drive-through and the building, directing patrons to the front.
Yeah.
We can accommodate that.
Yeah, but I think what Teal was saying, that put a gate there as well, so that someone knows that they can't go in between the buildings.
I think putting a gate there is, people don't see there's a way to get. Smart.
That area's gonna be fenced in.
Yeah,
So you could put a.
but I'm just saying, there's gotta be some kind of signage so that the public doesn't walk across the street.
Yeah.
And they'll end up
And
walking
go to
in the
nowhere, because
driveway.
then they're gonna walk through the drive-through with the cars to get to the front of the...
Yeah, they wouldn't
Yeah.
know. They'd be-
No, they wouldn't know.
If I may, the other part is with regard to this island, with the exception of where that service walk comes across, the rest of that island is landscape with shrubs. So it would naturally create some sort of deterrent for somebody to walk across that island. But we can supplement that, as we mentioned, with a gate at this location, and even a sign to drive people to the front, for the front.
Maybe we
Deliveries only or something.
Maybe even a gate on the other side of the driveway to prevent people from crossing the
Yeah, I
wall.
just get scared, people walking into traffic, and they get, people sometimes don't think, and they just walk, and
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And with that, and at the other crossing where we want them to cross, we'll have the pedestrian crossing signs, beware,
that's fine.
yield to pedestrians,
Yeah.
crosswalk.
I have another question for Mr. Steiger about the stacking. The plans show that they're stacking for 7 cars. Is that adequate during the peak hour? What do you anticipate the number of cars to be stacked during the peak hour?
We're gonna have about 71 customers per hour, or cars per hour. Of that, 45, about 2/3,
Yeah.
60% will be drive-through. The service rate is 90 vehicles per hour. So that we're going to have people it's not going to be they're not going to be a set number. They're coming every 30 seconds or 40 seconds. We're going to have that ability, or I should say, we're going to have that surge at times of customers coming in. But if we have a arrival rate of 45 and a service rate of 90, we can handle double the volume of what we're anticipating. So that's 7. So theoretically, if everybody did come at an even rate, we'd have nobody stacked. We have one person at the window. We could accommodate that, but we know traffic doesn't flow that way on arrival rates. It's a random flow. So that 7 cars provides that buffer or reservoir to collect those cars if they happen to come at a higher rate, instantaneous rate. So yeah, as long as our service rate, that is 90 per hour, is greater than our arrival rate, and if we're double that, we can ensure that certainly that the 7 vehicles will be more than sufficient for stacking.
Okay.
I guess the big question, okay, how can you service 90? What's one that's out? We mean takes only 40 seconds, because there's 40 seconds in an hour at 3,600 seconds. And the way that it works is that, well, by the time I place my order, there's going to be 3 or 4 cars in front of me, so that by the time I get to the window, 3 or 4 times 40 seconds is the time that it actually takes my little bag of coffee and donut to be obtained. So it all works out in the drive-through system.
Okay. Do you know, and perhaps I should have asked this of the owner, is any ice cream going to be sold there? I know that some Dunkin' Donuts include Baskin-Robbins. No.
No ice cream.
Okay.
Unless it's 70
All right, that's all I have at this point.
Anybody on the board have any questions for Mr. Steiger?
Yeah, I had a question. What if somebody wanted to get an oil change and a cup of coffee? I mean, they're literally cutting through the entire parking lot. Have there been any accommodations made for somebody who theoretically would want to do that?
Well, when you say accommodations, there's, other than leaving clear sight visibility so that a vehicle can see a pedestrian, is really the best way to handle it. No different than any shopping center that has a parking lot where you need to get to your car and walk through the parking lot.
But sorry for interrupting.
Sure.
My concern would be at a peak hour, let's say 9 a.m., 8 a.m. If the Valvoline is open, I don't know the Valvoline's hours, but I see a potential hazard in somebody trying to get a cup of coffee and an oil change in trying to park their car or even going to the drive-thru.
Well, the parking for the Valvoline is opposite the parking for the Dunkin' Donuts. So what you do is you come out of your car, walk across the aisle, and into the area. Again, no different than any shopping center that has two-sided double-loaded parking.
Sure.
You walk down the aisle, and then you find your means to get into the building itself. We're talking the Valvoline will be open simultaneously with the peak hour in the morning, peak hours. Valvoline sees about 4 customers an hour. It's relatively low volume, first thing in the morning. Some people may want a elongated service, and they may leave their car with the attendant and walk across. But I think it's going to be far and few between that are going to be doing that. I think Valvoline gives you coffee as a free coffee if you get your oil changed. So.
But they don't give you donuts.
No, you got to get your donut across the driveway. But again, it's at relatively low volume. You're not crossing a main street or anything like that, and clear visibility. And yeah, it's not unusual situation.
Is the area of travel in back of where the parking is two-way?
Oh yeah, yes.
So
this is two-way.
So potentially somebody could be back out, head west while somebody's coming east off the highway. So I guess you'll have signage right turn only as well for the people that are coming out of the parking lot of some kind, so they don't accidentally turn left into the.
All right, so I'm not following you now.
So if I park,
I got you.
And I want to go back westbound, how do I know to go out?
You don't want them making that turn, and the same thing true at this location.
Right.
I hear you. Good point, and I think what we're going to need to do is add some signage there, whether it's do not enter signs or wrong way, do not, maybe, down in here. That'd probably be I hear you loud and clear. I just can't picture what would be the best way to handle it, but no left turn.
I just see there's a lot of stuff going on there, and people turn onto the wrong way on the highway.
Ground striping.
Excuse me? The arrows?
Yeah.
Yeah, and and I'm looking at this, and do we want two-way traffic? I'm trying to question myself. Do we want two-way traffic? I don't think we do along the parallel spaces. We want the employees to enter eastbound and then parallel and face that way. Because if they face this way, now as they leave, they got to somehow, they're stuck.
And it also confused people that turn left because they see the cars facing the other direction.
Yeah, correct. So, and if they're all pointing in the northerly direction, it enhances that one-way flow. So this whole section wants to be one-way.
3 spaces to be front to back spaces, not side to side, all facing forward.
Yeah. Yep. Correct.
Make more sense with the flow.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're stuck there, and they're going to have to maneuver somehow and go the wrong way at a location. So, yeah, I think a do not enter signs. At the end, I'll call it entrance, or at the terminus of this section in here is necessary.
And on the other side too, so they don't go into the westbound traffic.
By the new garbage area.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that can be done by do not enter signs on that location, and the arrow in the pavement. So it may be the same thing over here. We have a do not enter sign and the arrow facing this way.
One more question, if you don't mind. How would the entry and exits for both sides interact with the U-turn in terms of distance? Is there, because Route 22 gets very bottlenecked, and my concern would be,
right here.
My concern would be distance from an entrance to the U-turn, because they're very aggressive drivers on Route 22.
Are you talking about the distance?
Yeah, is there, in your opinion, a safe distance from somebody to make a quick U-turn, and somebody traveling in that exact same lane to get to Dunkin' Donuts?
Well, we're not changing that configuration, that geometry at all. DOT requires 24 feet of separation between the two, and we're in that range at that location.
There's a full lane for that U-turn. There's a full lane.
There's a full lane for that U-turn?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It has its own lane now.
Okay.
That lane drops.
I use that
There's a-
U-turn all the time.
It didn't for a while, did it?
For the last,
As long as that's been there.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
it has its own lane.
Again, we looked that over with DOT. DOT did not have a problem with it.
Sure.
Even though there will be some increase in traffic by the Dunkin' Donuts using that driveway and our trip generation, but it was separated enough that no issue.
Anything else? Anybody from the public? Any questions? Are you guys, any more questions?
Not of this portion.
Yeah, I got planning
Yes,
testimony.
planning
Oh, okay.
I'm only half done.
All right, half done, all right.
The good stuff, yeah, the good stuff is over.
Okay.
In regards to the plan, there are a series of variances, and I'm gonna utilize Mr. Michael's report to go over those variances, and I'm gonna give what I feel are the justifications for the variances. The big variance that we're asking for is a use. Okay. Yep.
You okay? Okay.
Say the big variance, but the more critical variance is that we're asking for a D2 use variance, expansion of a non-conforming use. We're non-conforming because we have we're a restaurant, or we don't fit the definition of a restaurant, but we are a restaurant with a drive-through. They're not allowed, and fast food is not allowed. So we have two aspects that were previously approved, given use variance approval, but we are expanding them. We're expanding the size of the building from 962 square feet to 1399 square feet. So about 50% increase in the size of the building itself. Now, the way I look at it, there are two aspects, two non-conforming aspects to our use variance. We are not changing the fast food. We have fast food now, we're fast food later. What we are changing is that we're going from 2 drive-throughs to 1 drive-through. So in my mind, we're not extending or expanding the use variance aspect. I do concede, though, that we are an expansion due to the square footage increase. But I believe in the sense of overall use of the building, we are being more conforming per your ordinance by reducing the number of drive-through lanes for the facility. But the site has operated as a fast food restaurant. It has operated with drive-through lanes, I believe, successfully, and it's a continuation of that, of those primary uses. It is an adaptive use of an existing restaurant, fast food restaurant, with the 2 drive lanes, but we're bringing it down from 1 to 2. We're utilizing the existing building, so the efficiency of those land uses or the changes are enhanced. The aesthetics, you heard from Mr. Jeffress and Tracy, our architect, that we are enhancing the aesthetics of the building. Increased landscaping. I think the beautification of the site is a special reason. Building architectural enhancements. And we agree with the premonition of your planner in the report that the expansion and upgrade of this site is necessary in order to maintain a viable commercial use within the median. Very unusual type of site. Within the median of Route 22 as well. So I think all those reasons, which some of them are special reasons, justify the continuation of this fast food with drive-through and or the expansion of that non-conforming use, however you want to look at it. We have a series of bulk variances that require C variances. One of them is the front yard. Front yard requirement is 35 feet. We're less than that. I think we are 31.5 in the along Route 22 eastbound. So we're not far off, but we have 3 front yards, the way I look at it. You have eastbound, westbound 22, and you have the other frontage of the U-turn. So we're constrained by this site. The safety aspects of widening the building or making the building bigger on the opposite, the drive-through, as was discussed previously, is the important aspect, and that creates the front yard variance. If it was to be a side yard, we'd only need 25 feet and we'd be conforming. So the fact that we have 3 front yards puts a constraint on the hardships of this. So I believe it's under C1 justification for the variance. Bypass lane, we're required to have a bypass lane in addition to the drive-through lane of at least 10 feet. We do not have one. I don't think that the bypass lane adds any safety aspects. It's a convenience in case somebody changes their mind, they don't want their coffee or donuts, they can just bail out. They'll have to go through the lane like everyone else and then decide when they get to the window. So I don't believe it's a safety issue. I think it's a C1 and C2 variance because we are utilizing the existing building, the existing site configuration under C1. And again, I believe that the benefits of what we're providing of no additional pavement area and adding landscape is a benefit. The third variance it requires a walk-in cooler located in the front yard setback. Prohibits accessory structures. And as I defined before, the reason why we have an accessory structure, the walk-in cooler, we need that separation just from the DOT regulations of allowing for that cooler to be there as opposed. We could tie it into the building, but as I said, that would violate the DOT requirements. We are proposing 3 wall signs. We have 3 frontages. I think we're allowed 1 per frontage, but nonetheless, again, a C1 variance request is made due to the configuration of a 3 frontage lot for the number of signs. We do exceed the size of the wall sign. We're allowed 62.31 square feet, and we're proposing a 63.35. I think that 1 foot deviation is de minimis. I don't think anybody's going to be able to tell that we're 1 foot over. And it's a standard sign, and we'd like to maintain that for purposes of repairing it, maintaining it, because if we get a custom-made sign, it's just that much more difficult to be able to maintain it as well. So I believe that's a C2. Benefits outweigh the detriments. Next one is maximum height is of a wall sign is 5 feet, and we're proposing 9.92. And that's mainly an architectural feature that we're proposing. We do have, I don't know what you would call them, pillars of some sort or architectural features where we have a taller portion of the building in which we're proposing that little less than 10-foot sign. And again, that's where the signs are, those signs are located. Again, I believe it enhances the architectural compatibility of the building. Next variance, and again, that's a C2. I believe the aesthetics outweigh the benefits of the better aesthetics outweigh the detriments. The size of the signs, the freestanding signs. On the north side, we have an existing sign that is 117 square feet, reducing it to 89 square feet. So that already was granted a variance in the size, and we're actually reducing it. It's on the south side that we're going from 72 square feet to 80 square feet. And we're on a high-speed, high-volume roadway. We believe that size sign more appropriately enhances traffic safety for better identification of this site. And we have 3 lanes of traffic on the southerly side, along the east side, eastbound side. Lane changes, slowing down, maneuvering into the site are important aspects. And proper identification enhances that safety. And the last one is the logos, the Dunkin' Donut logos on the entrance directional signs. And again, this is just further enhancement of identification. I think it ties in with traffic safety, that you know that the entrance signs are into Dunkin' Donuts. As we pointed out, we have some of our driveways are pretty close to other roadway features, so identifying those entrances and so forth are important. And again, I think that reinforcement of the logo enhances that safety aspect. So I believe that there's no negative impacts that are generated by any of the variances that we are proposing, that they're all justified. The fact that we have C1 and C2 criteria that they meet, and the use variance, we meet the criteria for the positive aspects, that we do have special reasons for that use variance request, and then no negative impacts would be generated by the conversion of a Checkers to drive-through restaurant to a single Dunkin' Donuts drive-through facility.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cyranek. No further questions related to the planning aspect.
Any questions from the board members?
I just have this, during the course of the testimony, of previous witnesses, we identified there is another variance for the projection of that wall sign.
Yeah, good point.
Over 2 feet, and then I think the number of wall signs, over 15 inches, excuse me. And then, although I said in my report 3 wall signs, I think when we looked at them, there were actually more than the 3. So just gonna address that a little bit.
Yeah, I have I mean, I think that the one sign up in the upper right corner is unnecessary because your pylon signs both have, no.
Yeah,
Keep going to the right.
Yeah, this one.
It's unnecessary.
Oh, yeah.
Both your pylon signs have drive-through on it. I don't think you need that. I mean, it's just, you might as well.
I just talked to my client about that, and he's agreed. That was something that corporate suggested.
You can't even I mean.
The aesthetics look better without it, and they prefer to have it removed.
Okay.
It's a tough sign to read. So it just
Yeah,
blends
that's what I'm
with-
saying. You can't
blends
read,
with
I
the
mean, it
color.
makes no sense to me. It was useless. It's just.
I don't have any other questions.
Any other problems with do you have a problem with the width, I don't, but with the width of the little coffee being over 15 inches?
No, it's, you know, it's high enough. I'm not sure why the ordinance has that restriction.
Yeah, it didn't.
But I don't really have a problem with that. I just wanted to point it out because we don't.
Yeah, it has to be a variance.
You're right, that's correct.
Anything else from you guys? Anything from the public for this witness?
Well, I don't know, let me just question, which sign is it that you agreed to?
Upper right corner of the frontage. It says drive-through on it, just.
Oh, okay, thank you, okay.
So they really only have 2 main signs, and that's what they're allowed, correct?
3.
They're allowed 3, so, but they have are the little ones considered signs?
Yes.
So they have 4, they had 5, we're down to 4.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I think we have 1, 2, and then this is a double-sided sign.
Oh, it's the same sign.
Same sign.
So we're back
yeah.
to, we're 3, so we're good.
3, right.
Okay.
So you're eliminating a variance.
Yeah, you don't need a variance for that then.
Not for number of signs, no.
No, okay.
Is there a variance needed for fencing in the cooler or something? Sorry, is there a variance needed for fencing in the cooler? Because I know long ago there was talk of fencing in the cooler. Is there a
No, we're
variance needed for that?
There is currently fencing going around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On the plan.
there's no variance needed, is there?
I don't think so, let me just double check.
Yeah, and actually, it's not fencing in the cooler, it's extending a fence, kind of blended in, and it's landscaped anyway. It goes from the edge of the building to the cooler.
That was my whole thing about people walking.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, there's gonna be fencing there, so.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, the ordinance allows that fence to be 6 feet in height, which is what is proposed. So, and it's flush with the building, so it's not considered in the front yard. So
Yeah.
I think it's permitted.
There are no side yards.
I have one question, and it's probably not for you, but it may even be for the architect. Is there any issues with safety with firefighting, having the cooler so close to the building and having access between the accessory building and the main building? Is that safe?
Yeah, I don't think there's any building code that disallows that. Cooler's certainly not combustible.
I'm just talking about the 2 structures being
So close to
proximity.
one another.
Is there any technical safety issues that come up?
No, we didn't get any
And that'll be caught in the building review, construction permits, if there were any. Yeah.
You guys are good?
Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Sam, you have anything to add? Nothing? And the board has no other questions? And the public has no other questions? Okay. So if there's no other questions, no other comments, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve application 2018-1, Sony Realty LLC, 3022 Block 3104, Lot 1, for the whole list of variants needed, plus,
You can go over those.
we gotta go over that, plus, oh, you have more?
I motion to approve.
I'm not, hold on.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
I want all the striping we talked about, all the extra signage for the turns and,
Why don't I read the ones I have?
Good, go.
We can work, okay. Applicant agrees to install pavement arrows for traffic flow. Applicant agrees to install signage at the crossing of the service walk as well as a gate. Applicant agrees to install yield to pedestrian crossing signs. Applicant will add signage to prevent wrong-way traffic, including do not enter signs by the new garbage area as well as the front of the building. Applicant agrees to remove the wall-mounted drive-through sign on upper right corner of frontage, which eliminates the variance needed for number of signs. Applicant agrees to comply with the conditions in the review letters of Keller and Kirkpatrick and Robert Michael and Associates. And that's all I have.
That's what my notes show.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, did you have the agreeing about the employee parking?
Oh, I apologize. Yeah, I have that too.
so we want the
Page
employee
that.
parking to be.
Yeah, applicant agrees to limit the 3 parallel parking spaces as designated as employee parking only, and they're all going to be facing westbound.
Can they be, so,
North, technically.
North, okay.
so they're not gonna be, not gonna be parallel, well, parallel to the sidewalk.
Parallel sidewalk
So they're
facing
not gonna be perpendicular, they're gonna be parallel.
parallel, and the
Facing
front of
the
the house
house.
will be facing Route 22
Facing
west.
the exit on the other side.
Okay,
Perfect, that's what,
got it.
And you added the additional variance for the building facade extension?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Well, that came up during the direct testimony, so.
Good.
Okay.
we're good? So now I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Roll call, Sam?
Sure. Mr. Lofer,
Yes.
Mr. Poltrock,
Yes.
Mr. Hochstein,
Yes.
Ms. Cohen,
Yes.
Chairman Roth.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you very much. And, great getting your input from not only professionals for this evening. Look forward to Sal moving to his new location.
Good luck.
Have a great night. Thank you very much.
Are you, are you asking for a waiver of the resolution or not?
I think in this commercial, I think
Yeah,
we want
yeah,
to
fine.
incorporate the.
Okay,
That would be my recommendation. that
okay,
we
very
work
good.
No, I
on it.
would like to ask you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Counselor, I'll send you a draft of it if you'd like, so we get it right.
Yep.
Can I get a,
Thank you.
Thank you.
can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Hey.
Thank you.
No, I should have said something
Yeah,
sooner, but I realized it didn't need that in.
Yeah, I think so.
What? No, I told you not.
Oh.
I went to
No, I thought you needed to go to ladies' room. I said, we'll take a 2-minute break if you need to run to the ladies' room.
I wanted to keep the show going. I was afraid of, we had a balancing of the test, you know? Thank you.
Hi, I want to introduce myself.
I'm sorry.
That's not, no,
But I think we, made some good changes.
Harris. Nice seeing you.
I think